Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap 'cause he's a union man. He's got it all figured out. He won't care what you think 'cause he's a northern man. He's allowed to speak his mind. His
The Wigan Way podcast is brought to you by Cherry and White Pins, a local Wigan Warriors themed pin badge company with a variety of Wigan ranges. You can get free shipping on all orders when you use the code The Wigan Way, that's The Wigan Way, all in capitals, at checkout. Thanks to them for supporting the show.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Wigan Way. I'm joined by my Batty. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Very good. Thank you.
A good result this week. Sort of the game I think we really needed, to be honest, based off the start of the season, the last few weeks. It's not been pretty the last couple of weeks, and got back to putting some points on the board.
Yeah, questions were asked, and rightly so, whenever you lose back-to-back games, and you're the favourites in both of them, the questions are going to get asked, but nice, comfortable win, get back to winning ways, get up to third in the table, actually, and play some good rugby while we're doing it.
Yeah, third in the table. Key to mention, obviously, a very, very good points difference now.
Yeah.
Better than I think we're now ahead of everyone.
Yeah, we will be. I don't know if Hull care have got a good points difference as well. I know because they've not lost a game, which always
they have won quite a few close, haven't they? Yeah. So looking at the league, obviously Hull care are plus 31, so do Saints, and then we're plus 143. So a little bit ahead of both of them. The two Hull clubs sit top of the league. First and second, Hull obviously on 9 points and KR on 12, which, considering the last 2 weeks were disastrous, and the fallout from it was as if we'd lost the league and everyone had got injured. Actually,
I don't know. I mean, I don't think this was a perfect performance by any means.
No,
I do think we were a bit clunky in attack. We got it together eventually, but. Well, we're certainly a way off our best, which is a good thing because it's March. April by the time you listen to this, probably. But yeah, it's good that we're not at our full strength. We're not firing on all cylinders, and we're still. I mean, it's easy to dominate this game, you would say, with the players we were playing against and the situation they've been in for the week. But you've got to win that, and you've got to win it comfortably because it's your chance to catch up some of those 82 points that St Helens were gifted on opening round.
Yeah, and points difference is going to play a part.
Always does.
So, a big win sets us right into the league, and we'll talk about the rest of the Super League. Week off next week, and then a tough period. It's going to be an interesting, I'm going to say 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But actually, I think if we use the week off well, and come out of the Hull KR game and the Saints game, having one against Salford, week off, and then two difficult games. If we can come out of this really well, I actually think it helps set us up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and we'll have a couple more weeks off in the future along these lines when the league takes a break for the cup action.
Mm-hmm. Could be really handy actually. And
we don't have a game in hand to squeeze in this year with no World Club Challenge as well. So yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what the team can do in 2 weeks' time.
Definitely. Before we go into the actual game, a couple of people returned. Obviously, Field returned after a couple of weeks out. Looked lively as ever.
Yeah, Field looked really good. Field looked like he has done all this season. He looked fantastic. Douglas was on the right wing and almost up on the scoring. He was just offside from a kick.
Yeah.
But almost up on the scoring with it. He showed a clean pair of heels there to Johnny Vaughan to score. And Eckersley was still at centre. So Miski and Kieran, that right edge who we've played pretty much the whole of last season together, apart from when Kieran was needed in field, are both missing. And it looks like for a while. So maybe Eckersley and Douglas are going to have more games to come.
Yeah, and they're going to have to slot in. They're going to have to do a job. Eckersley got a little bit more experience than Douglas. But neither of them will be feeling panicked. There won't be any added pressure onto them. Matty Pete backs his lads.
Both played pretty well last week at Leeds, and one mistake aside, and both did well this game as well. So
definitely. The other returnee, this was a big return, Brad O'Neill.
Yeah.
35 minutes, you're on the field, maybe just a little bit longer. Looked really, really good. Looked fresh, obviously. Going to take him a couple of weeks to get back into the full swing of everything.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that he's got this game under his belt and now can have a week off.
I thought he ran more than he usually does. His distribution was great. I like a lot of what Lehman and Forward do, but I do think we're a better side when Brad is guiding us around.
Yeah,
I do, and Lehman obviously is fantastic and dynamic coming off the bench, but Brad offers us a lot when we're trying to play to structure and we're trying to dominate a team by going through the middle of them. Brad offers us a lot.
Well, we had the conversation a lot last year, obviously Brad's injury, that Lehman was almost that 1-2 punch with Mago for a spell. When they brought Mago on after 25 to break the game open, Lehman was the second punch.
And what I'm excited about now is that you've got Walters.
Yeah.
Those three operating together. We'll talk a bit more about Walters in a bit because I thought he was fantastic. But them three work really well together. You'd think, we get into the arm wrestle, we have a bit of domination, we maybe get a try in front. Them three could break the game wide open.
Well, it's almost a perfect situation, isn't it? Score, repeat, get the ball back, and as soon as you get a penalty and get any sort of field position, roll Mago on, roll Lehman on, roll Walters on, and you've got so much punch, then added punch that a lot of teams don't have from the bench. You look at the rest of the teams in Super League. Warrington are a side that play with two hookers, but their creative player in Walker starts a lot of the games, so they don't have that punch of Walker off the bench.
Herman Ese starts the game for Hull. That sort of prop, isn't it?
The only one you can really go for is Parsi at Saints.
Yeah, Parsi does that sort of role, doesn't he, quite well? But sometimes he starts, though. Sometimes he starts 13 or he starts prop.
He started a lot of games at prop.
Ideally, if you're St Helens, I suppose they do sometimes start Walmsley and Lees and then roll Parsi on. That's what they should do, really. That's what they'll want to do if there's nobody injured.
But even if you look at the likes of Hull KR, starting off with Sue and Jarrah Warrior-Hargreaves, Litton isn't that punch, really, that you get off the bench. And you don't have that with the impact forward. So with having Lehman and Mago and Walters to an extent, it just gives us so much off the bench. And
bit of dynamism off the bench is a bit different. Something a bit different.
Yeah.
When you've just defended for 20 minutes or whatever, 25 minutes, Thompson, Byrne, Havard if he's fit, charging at you, Ellis charging at you. Something a bit different that is probably not what you want to see.
It's certainly not if you've just been pinned in your own half for 25 minutes from Luke Thompson, Dupree in this game, and
whoever starting
at Cade Ellis, and then you roll them guys on. You'd be hoping for a little bit of respite, really, and you just don't get that.
No, we've got a strong bench this year. It's one of the reasons I favoured us against Warrington in Las Vegas. We've got a strong bench this year.
Yeah. Should we get into this game?
Yeah.
Obviously, early on, Douglas has a good chance to open the scoring. Just offside from the kick.
Yeah, just offside. I thought, as soon as he checked it, I thought, maybe he's offside. Because whenever they let them one bounce, there's always a chance that they're offside. Because they're not close to the kicker.
Yeah.
It's easier to stray offside. But them ones are just, they're just unlucky because he would have scored anyway if he was onside. They're just unlucky, them.
Yeah.
They are what they are. That's the rule. He was offside.
Good piece of pace for him.
Yeah. Good piece of pace. Lucky bounce, so.
Get on the outside and scores. Obviously reviewed and was overturned. 9 minutes into the game, we open the scoring. Cruz Lehman A little bit of a short side play. Finds December, who does really, really well to attack the back of the play of the ball. It's such a difficult place to defend.
He hits Chris Hill with a lovely... Chris Hill with a lovely... Leamy gives him the ball. He does Chris Hill with a lovely step, and I don't want to go in on Chris Hill here because he's playing with a hamstring injury, and he shouldn't have been playing really. But, team came first for him, and actually Sangari was also injured. I feel bad for criticising Sangari during the game. I didn't realise he was injured. So fair play to them too, but this was just too much for Hill with the moving bodies.
Yeah, just attacks the back of that play the ball. Hill has to slide and try and get there, and as soon as his hips go, a great step from December. Gets into open space. Doesn't really fancy the big long sprint.
No, just give it to Wardle.
Give it to Wardle, let Wardle score.
Yeah, give it to Wardle.
That was on the 10th minute. Harry Smith misses the kick from the touchline. 4 points to nil. And then the game was a little bit quiet, really. A bit of to and fro. Trying to get in an arm wrestle, really.
There was a long time where nothing really happened, although it felt like we were looking towards the north stand a lot.
Yeah, we had a lot of the ball and a lot of the territory.
We sit in the east stand, I think everyone knows that by now, but it felt like we were looking towards our right, at our attacking side a lot, but we weren't really scoring. I can't remember what time the Bevan French no try was.
It was later on in the half.
Was it later on in the half?
Yeah.
So this was the next thing really of importance, was the yellow card.
Yeah, the pretty sin binning. To me, it is what it is.
In this day and age, it's a sin bin. We've seen it before. We've seen people get sin bin for this quite a few times now. It's unfortunate for Dupree because he has his arms by his side. He doesn't mean to do a swinging arm or hit him in the head. It's just unfortunate. But if you make contact with the head, there's mitigation, which changes it from a red to a yellow. But he has made contact with the head, so on today's rules, then it's a yellow card. Don't think you can have any complaints.
Yeah, I've got to say this is one of my frustrations with refs, is they keep saying it's head contact, but it brings it from a red to a yellow. I'm just like, why are we bringing the conversation of red up? Because that's never a red.
No, it wasn't. It's not a red, no.
And people then start going, should it have been a red? Well, no. Just say it's a yellow card.
No, it shouldn't have been a red because it wasn't intentional. And
it's not dangerous.
No, it was maybe careless, but it wasn't reckless. He was trying to make a normal tackle.
And he's just
he was trying to probably tackle him underneath the ball, if we look at where his arms are. But obviously the first man makes him lose height.
I just don't like the terminology that and the way they do it. And it's not just for Wigan. There was a couple the other day where they worded it as it's red from a yellow. And I'm like, it's not a conversation.
Yeah, but any senior got a yellow, didn't he?
Yeah. So we can go down to 12, and to be honest, this really kicks us into life if we're being completely honest.
We're a good side when we go down to 12,
but it's mainly.
You know why I think it is? Because when we've got 12, we have no option. We have to go through the middle, and I think we are suited to going through the middle.
And playing off the back of that.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Instead of shifting it wide, which some teams are great at, I think we've got structure and we've got players through the middle. And if we've only got 12, you have to do that.
Yeah. And this play comes exactly from that. Obviously, we're down to 12. We get the ball back in our own 30-metre area. We roll it out with a couple of tackles. Liam Farrell just finds short of halfway. Leeming finds Cade Ellis, takes it to the line. And then this is, again, young lads, not been set up to defend Super League players. But he sees Harry Smith out the back, the young halfback for Salford. He tries to put some pressure on him. And Sam Walters just drifts through a gap. Cade Ellis finds him.
Ellis makes the right decision, doesn't he? And Walters is through.
Yeah, but the point is you probably get away with that at academy level. Or you have a chance of getting away with it. They don't miss them passes at Super League. And they don't miss finding the right gap. Walters gets through, finds Field, and Field just jogs under the over the line and plants the ball down.
Yeah, Walters did the right thing as well. Just give it to somebody quicker than you and he'll score.
Yeah, I wouldn't fancy running that distance if Field's on the inside. From the kick-off, that takes it 10 points to nil. Kick-off, big carry from Walters, and then just imagine the second punch is Junior December, who again was outstanding, and we'll dive into some of the players later on. The young halfback is just not going to tackle him.
He just misses him one-on-one, doesn't
Yeah. Now, December, not his greatest moment once he gets through with the fullback.
Makes it difficult for Wardle, but it did mean that we got to see Wardle in full flow, which I think we've seen this season. He looked like he'd maybe been struggling with a knock or something. He looked much more like himself.
I heard his knee. That was why he was kept out of the Sheffield game.
Yeah, he's looked more like himself in this game where he was free. And that's not something to do with the opposition. That if you're free into open space and you can run like that, then maybe you are fully fit.
But December tries to draw the fullback Brealey. Doesn't do his greatest job, but finds Wardle, who goes round Brealey, plants it in the corner, and that takes it to 14 points to 0 with a kick to come. Again, a couple of sets later, I think this was my favourite play.
This was 3 tries while Dupree had been sitting on the bench.
And I'm pretty certain.
And we never rolled Thompson back on either.
No, I was going to mention that at
Which
half
to
time.
say Dupree did 10 minutes on the bench, we never rolled Thompson back on, which I thought was unusual. I was a bit worried at the time, but I've not heard that he's not fine. It was just a precaution.
Well, Cade Ellis comes off after 25 minutes. Thompson came off after about 18.
But I suppose they've played a lot on them too.
Yeah, the minutes on the cap. You're now ahead of the game. You've worn the pack down a little bit. Go off and have a sit down, really. But this was my favourite play of the game. A double fullback of December and Walters. You would not want to be Eason Masters defending at right centre there.
No. I think Field had set up the next play. He was setting up the next play. And so this was just something perhaps that they tried. Where Walters and December were just chiming in from fullback, basically. And December just crashes over.
Well, it starts off with Leeming to Smith. Jake Wardle makes a really good line, almost in front of Eason Masters, that just gets him to turn his hips. But on the outside of that, you've got December, who's drifted on the outside. You've got Marshall hugging the touchline. And you've got Walters back on the inside of December, if he finds him. And you're showing that to a young winger. Playing his second or third game in Super League.
Yeah, he's no chance. It's a try this all over.
It's a try all there.
As soon as he gets the ball.
And then we have the Bevan French no try.
I'm not quite sure what order these were in, by the way. But this was in the first half, certainly.
Yeah, the French no try was at 22-0. I can't remember if...
It was at 22-0, you're right, because I remember thinking it should have been 28 at half time.
I can't remember if he'd come back on, Dupree. Even though he technically never came back on.
Yeah, we put somebody else on instead of him.
We made him stand on the field and then bring Hill on.
Yeah. So the no try, let's talk about it. Masters takes the ball in. French kind of half strips it, but it's more of a loose carry.
I thought he got bounced off the tackle, mate.
Yeah, he kind of got bounced off the tackle and lost the ball. If he was going to try and score a try, this would not have been given a ball steal. We'll say that's a fact. The ball then bounces and goes in a direction towards Wigan's try line. French picks it up and scores. Outruns everybody and scores. So, I mean, this just is categorically a try. And the video ref got it wrong. That's all we're saying.
I can't see how it's not a try.
Plain and simple, the Eason Masters made a mistake in this play and the video ref made a mistake in this play.
Yeah. Because the ball goes back towards Wigan's line. Yes, once it hits the floor, it bounces towards Salford's line and helps French out getting going.
But the ball travels in relation to French backwards.
It's either an Eason Masters knock-on
or play on one-on-one ball steal.
One-on-one ball steal. Bevan French scores.
Yeah.
It can't have been a Bevan French knock-on.
No, because it didn't go forwards. But he said inconclusive evidence. So I don't know what he saw that was inconclusive, because every single angle there was clear as day backwards.
Yeah.
But it's a good job it didn't matter.
No.
It's a good job it didn't matter. Because then they overturned one for a captain's challenge, which was exactly the same. And they overturned that one.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is to overturn now. You clear and obvious, or do you just need the team to
Get
be
the right
losing?
call.
Do you just need the team to be losing?
That'll be one of my criticisms of the captain's challenge over here so far. It feels like they're trying to prove the ref right.
Yeah, but not this time, because he went against him this time for the ball steal.
Nobody did give no try on field.
Yeah, but so that was a video ref decision. We've had that for ages, where he backs up the referee on field, and the ref can make a mistake because it's happening quickly. Video ref, when they look at all those angles, clear as day, going backwards.
Shouldn't be getting.
I don't know how. What about that is inconclusive? Apart from that, maybe because one team was in front by 22 points, and that's better than 28. That's all I can think. Because I don't know a possible reason why that was chalked off.
Yeah,
I can't think of one.
Half time, 22-0. What do you reckon the conversation is?
Difficult, isn't it?
It's such a difficult situation to be in.
Tough conversation to have to.
Because you can't just pretend like you're going to start 0-0.
Yeah, it doesn't work, that does it? Still 0-0, lads. Yeah, that doesn't work.
It works if it's St. Helens on Good Friday. It works if it's Hull KR.
Warrington, Vegas, maybe.
Yeah.
In fact, even then, it probably doesn't.
But you can't also, let's just go and put points on. You've got to stick to the process. You've got to do the right things.
So it would be disrespectful not to try and win this game as your way, you know.
Mm.
So I can see why we can come out with all guns blazing trying to get points. It's disrespectful if you don't. We said that when Saints put 82 on them, on the kids. You've got to try for respect for your opposition and respect for your competition. It's a bad look. Really bad luck, and we'll talk maybe a bit more about Salford in a bit, but out of respect for the competition, you have to try and score as many points as you can. The right way, though.
Yeah.
Not launching the ball about, not trick plays,
No Harlem Globetrotters.
No Globetrotter tries. We need to actually score. Don't try and score the best try in the world. Just try and score a normal try.
Yeah.
That's the way. That's the way. You've got to win this game.
Now, come on, second half. 3 minutes in, Wigan score again. A hopeful kick from Salford finds Field, and Field just does what he is so good at. Drifts across the line, finds that gap.
Yeah, it's that early J Field form, isn't it?
Yeah.
Running laterally as well as forwards, and then getting round in between centre and half back. Marshall does the right thing coming back inside. I would like to have seen maybe Field go for it himself if he needed to.
Yeah.
But he obviously does the right thing.
And it's for me with Field, it's that drift, and then just put enough pace to get around someone. It's not lightning pace all the time. It's as and when needed.
Yeah.
26-0. 5 minutes later, about 4 minutes later, Bevan French. We talked about how he's not really that full-back build anymore. He now looks like an out-and-out 6 rather than a full-back playing at 6.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger, a little bit stronger in the hips. And he shows and goes.
Someone wipes out Field during this play. I think it's Shorrocks. Just absolutely wipes out Field. I suppose on the balance of it, so far in the game, Field's been the main man, hasn't he, in this game? Just wipe out Field and then he can't score. But French does what he does best, which is what he showed Mikey Lewis he can do in the grand final. That's not the only person he'll go past like this year. He's got the strength where he can put his foot down and he can get through a gap.
It's that added size now, but he's got a little bit stronger in the hips, a little bit learning the 6 role. He has only played it for 18 months. Yeah. It's halfway through 2023.
Yeah.
He's now had 2 pre-seasons of playing 6. But again, he's getting better and he's learning that. And we saw a little bit later on that he started to kick a little bit more. Tried a couple of long kicks.
Yeah, he tried a 40-20, didn't he?
Yeah, game to try it. Add another string to your bow. 2 minutes later, O'Neill jumps out from 9, finds Mago. He gets through a couple of tackles but doesn't really fancy himself in the open.
Mago could dodge raindrops, never mind Bevan.
Look
at Walters being a fullback again.
I know. Finds Harry Smith to December, and Walters.
that's so forward.
Yeah.
We got one back from the French thing. That's so far forward.
Yeah.
We'll call it out when French is denied a clear and obvious try. We'll call it out when Wardle's given one. Or Walters is given one.
I don't think, though, you can give 5 forward passes in a game to the same team.
I know.
We got done 4 times.
We were getting peppered for some of them forward passes.
4 times we got
How many
done.
forward passes do you see get given in a game?
Well, Jake Connor,
maybe one a game.
Jake Connor went full Tom Brady.
Yeah.
To send McDonald over before in an earlier game. We got away with this one. Sits up to Jake Wardle who strolls in.
Everybody just stops because they know it's forward.
I still don't know what happens here. He throws it back inside.
Really gets hand to it, and then it hits Walter. It's not so much of a kick; it just hits Walters on the foot, and then he falls on it.
Sam Walters backing it up like any good fullback.
He does the right thing. The Walters basically plays fullback in this move. Look at him asking for the ball. Fields on his inside.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he didn't go to the screen as well for that one. By the way,
no.
Usually he loves going for the screen. They all do.
And that takes it to 36 points to 0. 57 minutes gone. Start to roll Dupree back on.
Yeah, we brought off the halfback, Patrick Mago.
Yeah.
Halfback / loose forward / prop, Patrick Mago, and brought on Tyler Dupree, who then just turned into a barnstorming fullback, backing up on the inside of Sam Walters' shoulder. Walters
with a little bit of a step, gets through a gap, finds Dupree, who gets tackled. He doesn't want to find Field on his inside.
No, just can't manage it.
Fancies going all the way to the line. And we did our very, very best here.
to mess up the overlap.
Yeah, now, Johnny, the guy who sits behind me, was screaming, just pass it.
He loves a calm moment, doesn't he, Johnny?
Just pass it.
He loves a calm moment. A moment of calm in the chaos.
Yeah, and this pass from Lehman hits Smith on the foot. It was really well not to actually knock it on. He gets the ball and shovels it sort of backwards to Lehman.
Swipes it backwards, slaps it backwards.
At this point, Johnny is still telling me, just pass it. You don't have to do anything. Lehman picks it up, finds Bevan with a better pass. Bevan doing what he does. Farrell to Eckersley, and Eckersley strolls in.
Farrell will catch and pass though, isn't
it? Yeah. Does his job. Takes to 42 points to 0. And this is where you start to see some brilliance.
Can you call it vintage J Field? When really he's only been here for a few years.
Yeah.
It is vintage J Field, this, isn't it?
Yeah. Really puts a kick in behind on the 75th minute. It's 42-0. Smith collects it. He's sort of dropped into that second fullback role. We've seen it quite a bit, actually, from him.
Yeah.
Just covering a Field is trapped somewhere. He beats the tackle and gets it to Field.
Oh, wow.
And I feel so bad for a young winger.
It's not a young winger. I think that's Esam Masters that gets done there.
I thought it was Wags.
I'm pretty sure it's Masters. So Wagstaff goes in to try and get it.
Yeah,
That's Masters that tries to tackle him.
Who just...
An international standoff / centre.
Yeah. Flies up to try and deal with his issue. And he just draws him in. He says, try and tackle me. And then I'll step round you.
All that space on the outside must be screaming to J Field like the Green Goblin mask. Come on, get around somebody.
I won't lie, I was screaming, please don't sprint. Please don't sprint.
He had to sprint to get away from Chris Kendall.
Yeah.
Kendall was going to bring him down there. He was rapid in Kendall.
He is sharp. That makes it 48 points to 0. 2.5 minutes to go. And Wigan seal off a good performance with ball playing Patrick Mago.
Yeah, at this point, the halfback's back on. Big sexy Patrick Mago's back on.
Yeah.
Not calling that for a while, have we? Now, our Aidan, Lewis's brother, had a great point about this try. He said, Mago is so smart. He didn't throw the face ball in the air because it could have been an interception. He threw it deliberately on the floor. Just at Wardle's feet, just so it could sit up so it would sit up nice for him. You can't intercept a ball that bounces, can you? Yeah. So that's just dead smart there from Patrick. And he puts Wardle through. Wardle races off. Completes his hat-trick. I mean, Darren Lockyer never thought of doing that. No. Patrick Mago did, ball playing. I like this from Walters, who... from Wardle, sorry, he gets in open space and he burns somebody. Not seen that for a while.
No,
I've seen it this year.
I've seen it a couple of times now.
Burns somebody.
Just a little bit of actually, I'm all right now.
I'm all right now. I can get round anybody.
Yeah. 54-0. It will go on to be the final score of the game. But it's not without incident, really. Field...
We were determined to give him a try.
Yeah. Almost identical to the Bevan French.
Almost identical.
Except this one went
This
forward.
one went forward, yeah. Fortunately, it went forward.
And I wouldn't have minded even giving it.
I thought he was going to give it.
If he didn't give the French one.
I thought he was going to give it.
But
no, this one wasn't a try.
No.
No, it wasn't a try. You can see that on the replay. It wasn't a try, unfortunately for him.
But that wraps it up 54-0.
Your commentators were gutted. I mean, in a small way, I was as well. I like your clean sheet being intact, but...
A little bit of me wanted them to score. A little bit of me wanted...
It looked... Maybe this is why I wanted that to be a try. The scenes we saw after the game just looked so final. Do you not think they looked final? Like there was an element of the end about it all.
Yeah.
Like them getting in a huddle and they didn't really... Well, they shook hands quickly, but they were in a huddle for ages. They didn't clap the supporters for ages. They did eventually got a great reception, but for ages they were in a huddle talking. Rowley was on the pitch, which isn't unusual, I don't think, but he seemed to be on quite quick and he said a lot, which usually coaches don't speak on the pitch, do they? I know he shook hands with all our players and then said quite a bit. It just all seemed a bit like, and whether this is the last game for them, it might not be, but it felt like in their heads it could be. So they're going to do this because it could be the end.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. I've actually sat and pondered it today and thought, well, did it mean this? Did it mean that?
It wasn't normal, was it?
No. Obviously, you've got to go and give a little bit of an extra thank you.
Yeah, you do.
Who were very, very loud all the way.
And Rowley definitely does.
Sorry, I mean, more to the fans. You've got to go and say thank you and give them a really special moment. And they stayed for a round of applause off the Wigan fans for turning up and giving it a good go. But there was a weird feeling. And
There was a bit of an odd feeling about
I just can't explain it. I'd love to hear what people think.
It felt final.
Yeah.
It felt like that was the final whistle properly. And, yeah, sad that. I don't know if it is, but it felt like, even if it's not, there was a chance it was.
I wonder whether some senior players know that they're going to leave, that they've just had enough. Even if it's not final, they've just had enough.
Yeah. I suppose, the update really is that they weren't paid for March on time. They were paid on Friday instead of Thursday.
Well, there's a weird thing apparently about this contract. That it says it should be Thursday. Well, it actually says...
But they reserve the right to pay you up until the last day of the month.
Last day of the month.
You see, well, when I get paid on the last day of the month, and if it was a day late, would I even notice? I mean, I probably noticed, but if it was the time after I hadn't been paid for 3 or 4 days, then I would really be worried.
And that had happened for the last 4 months.
Yeah, I'd be really, really worried. And somebody else had to pay my wages last month. Or allegedly, I don't know how true that is. Shouldn't really speculate on that sort of thing, but it leads us to speculate on that sort of thing because there's just been no clarity on it. A whole situation, the whole time. Lewis has done the news every week, and we've spoken about it. It's just been
weird things that I really didn't like. So there's talks of 2 players not refusing to play, and it was Callum Watkins and Chris Atkin.
Yes, it was not Jaden Nikarima who is injured. A hamstring injury.
It's such a bad position when you've not paid your players on time since you bought a club, and you then tell them if they refuse to play for not being paid, we're going to find you $2,000.
It's tough, isn't it? Because, like I said before, Hill and Sangari seem to have played through injuries.
Well, I said Shorrock's played with an injury.
but what I mean is Hill and Sangari are new players this time. Shorrock's obviously been there for 12 months. Callum Watkins is club captain. Chris Atkin, can you remember him playing for another team? If he did, it's a long time ago.
But I can't criticise him for that.
What I mean is, if they've been here much longer, because those two have been there much longer, they might have a better picture. They might be a bit more fed up.
I think that's what I was going to say. I think it's just a case of, I can't keep going through this. I can't keep waking up on payday waiting for a notification that money's gone into my account.
Where somebody like Hill, I don't want to play down what he's done because I'm really impressed with what he did, but he's towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
It might be his last year anyway.
Yeah.
He's just joined the team. He's a leader in there to some of those young forwards. He probably saw it as no harm done if I play, even if I don't get paid. No harm done this time if I get, the worst that can happen is I'm finishing anyway. You know what I mean?
Really, really tough.
Tough one, isn't it?
But good game overall.
Yeah, pleasing for Wigan. Bittersweet because of what it means to one of our clubs, one of our historic clubs. But yeah, nice to get some tries and get some flow in rugby and get some smiles on people's faces.
Yeah.
Not the finished article, but that's fine. Go into the week off, hopefully come out firing again.
Yeah. Right, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and see what's in the news, really. So, no Lewis this week for the news. So, Matty, you took this section.
I'm pulling double duty, yeah. Eye-catching and news. Well, I'll do eye-catchers first. Then I'm going to start with my try of the week, which was an absolutely gorgeous try by George Flanagan for Huddersfield.
Felt like we've seen that one somewhere before.
Someone has dummied and beaten the line where Michael Lewis is defending and then stepped the fullback, made them fall over and score under the post. Yeah, I've seen that before. Wasn't raining.
No.
This time. Which it looked a little less dramatic without the rain. The short in goals as well. It wasn't short in goals. But George Flanagan scored a belting try against Hull KR.
Can't have been in an important game, that.
No, I don't know. George Flanagan scored a belting try against Hull KR. Missed the goal.
I really like the look of him,
He's got some talent, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got some talent, serious talent. And
he's playing in a beaten pack, which is tough.
He's playing in a really poor side at the moment, but he's still catching the eyes, doing good things. He had a great try against us a few weeks ago. Great try again here today. So, yeah, that's my try of the week. My shot of the week is Down Under, as it so often is, because they just have no respect for their own bodies down under. They're not here either, but you just feel like with the camera angles and the microphones they've got and all the sweat pumping
They're
off
a bit more lenient as well.
They're just a bit. It just looks a bit more dramatic when they have big hits down under. It's from Pat Carrigan. There was loads of options this week. There was one on Herbie that was just absolutely disgusting big hit. But Pat Carrigan flew out the line and hit Tom Gilbert with an absolute cracker. Launched into him in the Brisbane versus Dolphins game.
I think there's always something about when one player, when two big fellas just line each other up.
Yeah, that's what it was. But the commentators were getting dead excited about, next time, watch next time Carrigan gets the ball, Gilbert's going to fly in with him. So that was a good little battle. My player of the week...
Sorry, ex-Brisbane player as well, Gilbert.
Yeah, in the Brisbane, quote-unquote, Brisbane derby. I don't really say it like that, but yeah. And my player of the week is going to be match winner Johnny Lomax, purely because he's come some serious criticism this year so far from his own supporters, and for him to get up off the mat and hit 2 drop goals to win in the south of France. I always look for that in characteristics in a player.
I was going to say, the big thing about that is the second one. When you hit the first one, you go, right, defend here, we win this game.
Then they get the one back.
Then they get it back.
But then they mess up the chance, don't they, with Walmsley throwing the offload for no reason.
But to just reset yourself and go, actually, right, it's back to where it was, I just need to hit a drop goal, does show that he knows the ropes and he's got some experience.
And he's won him another game, which, I've always respected Lomax. He's always been a good player. Yeah, he's not had his best year, but he doesn't deserve the criticism that he gets sometimes from Saints fans this year, and I like that he picked himself up off the mat this week and won the game. I don't like that they won the game, but I like that he was the match winner.
Yeah.
And he's a good player and someone we respect.
Yeah.
But that's my eye catchers. We'll do the news as well.
Yeah, go on.
Double duty. So a couple of extensions. Herman SASA signed a big extension. Didn't tell John Asiata when they were playing golf the day of the extension. Didn't tell him. John wasn't pleased with that he kept that a secret. But that was announced either during the game or just after.
It was before. They had Herman SASA. Hull tweeted saying if you can't get to the ground, be on Sky Sports at 7:30.
And the Herminator was going to extend his deal.
But they hadn't said what for. And then tweets from the ground were that SASA was being interviewed before the game, and then they announced that SASA had signed. So it all sort of fell into...
So, he's done well. He's done really well, especially this season.
I thought he was good last year.
Yeah.
Took it to another level with some support as well.
Yeah, so that's good for Hull, getting the one of their best forwards tied down. And another bit of news from Hull, splashing the cash, they brought Will Price to England again. His dad played for them, didn't he? His dad played for Hull?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's already the pictures of Will with the Challenge Cup when they won it.
Yes. So Leon obviously played there, and Will now back. I can't imagine he'll be cheap, because Newcastle saw something in him to take him in the first place.
I think there's a weird situation here. I think it's a great signing for now. Where does he play? Because Caesar and Custer had a really, really good partnership.
I think he's better than...
I think he's better than both of them.
He's better than Cuss. They play 6 and Cuss can be rotation or off the bench. I think there's absolutely no problem with that whatsoever.
What I mean by the issue though with that is that at the start of the season you were saying this is your half-back combo.
I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. You wouldn't have signed Will Price at the start this year because he wouldn't go to Hull. No, you showed a bit of ambition. You showed a bit of fight. You've won some games. I think you can then attract him. I think Will Price, whenever I've seen him, he's not disappointed me for Newcastle. I think he's just not really big enough for Australia, and he's also stuck behind a few players. He
sat behind Ponga.
Yeah.
Sat behind, for next year he's going to be sat behind Dylan Brown, $1.3 million man.
But as soon as that Dylan Brown news came in, it felt like, well, that's Price done at Newcastle. So I think it's a fantastic signing for
Can he play full-back? Rapana play centre?
I wouldn't change that element of it. I think he comes in for Cust and Cust
played a lot of full-back out there.
Rotation on the bench as 9 and 6, or just... I suppose you could put Rapana at centre.
Because what they've been doing is Moy's been coming off the bench and Rapana going to centre.
Well, I think Cust just fills that role instead. And then you've got full-back covered, you've got 6 and 7 and 9 covered from Cust there. So I don't know what they'll do. I'm sure he's got an idea. If you get a chance to put Will Price in your team at this stage, you take it, unless you're up to the cap, you know what I mean? Mm. So I think it's a good signing for them.
Yeah.
Big news for Wigan fans a Friday evening was that Jay Field has signed an extension. So originally Jay Field signed an extension in the beginning of the 2024 season, which was 2 plus 2. 2 years, 24 and 25, plus 2 player option for 26 and 27. He's now, I don't know if he's re-upped his money or whatever, but he's now officially got 26 and 27, and it's 2 plus 2 again, so he's now got player option for 28 and 29. So clearly very happy.
Long term.
Yeah, it's only been 12 months since he last signed a deal, but...
The thing I'm really happy about this deal is that there just started to be talk about his future.
Again.
And it's done. It's done now.
Yep.
And that talk, when French came around the last time, it was a little bit more long term, a little bit more talking about it, probably 2 or 3 months worth of talk. Mm. Now this is just done.
It's done, yeah.
It's done.
Yeah, we've got them both for long term, at least till the end of 2027, and I'm not thinking much further than that. And the last sort of signing that was made was on loan, which was a bit of a Wigan interest there, well, potentially, with Johnny Vaughan going on loan to Salford, and the Saints fans wished him well on his way to Salford there.
Jeez, yeah.
Some excellent
wasn't
comments,
very nice, was it?
Some parting shots as he went off to Salford to play for them. So that's it for signing news. There was one other story that caught your eye, though.
Well, it started off on Wednesday. And, I'll be honest, we've started having this conversation in the last couple of weeks and thought about keeping it off the podcast.
Yep.
What's happened in our game, in another game in Super League, has said, actually, we need to have this conversation now and worth mentioning it. So on Friday, Warrington Leeds, and we'll go into the details of the game later on, but it was reported that Sam Burgess waited for the referee and then walked down the tunnel with him. And it wasn't really said what they were talking about.
It might have been for past try.
Yeah. Brad Arthur has then come post-game and commented on the penalty count, saying that he should have started waiting for coaches because the penalty count swung.
Mm-hmm.
Now, penalty counts is a really, really funny conversation because I'm going to say 3 weeks ago it was brought up privately between me and you and Lewis, and we've kept a track of it. And today there's been a post on RL Fans.
Someone else has been doing the same.
Someone else was having the same conversation, a Wigan fan, and it's worth pointing out, is the penalties given and penalties received by each team.
Yep.
And now, I've got no facts behind this first bit I'm going to say, but I would estimate that somewhere in a normal game of Super League, there's 10 to 14 penalties. There's usually penalty counts of something like 5-5 or 7-6 and 9-5.
Unless one team's, on top.
Yeah. It's usually around the 14 mark, in my opinion. 7-6, 8-5. Penalty counts are 1.
If you're giving away 8 or 9 or 10 penalties a game, you're not a disciplined side.
No.
Or you're on the end of a lot of beatings.
Yeah.
If you're giving away 3 or 4 or 5 a game, you're really ultra disciplined, or you're winning every game cruise control. You know what I mean?
Now,
you expect somewhere to be 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. Now, with that,
That's fair enough.
With that, obviously, you do get the odd game, like a Wigan Saints, Good Friday, where they let it go a little bit.
Let it play. If it's a semi-final or final, just no penalties on either side, really.
And the penalty count drops a little bit. The ref tries to stay out of it.
And that's what happened on opening day.
Yeah.
With Wigan and Lee, and then we didn't see that ever again.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think most games should be refereed like that.
They won't be.
They won't be, but I think they should. Now, in terms of penalties received to penalties conceded, and the differential of that, if you're near the top of the league and winning most games, you should win the penalty count. Because you've had more balls, you've scored more points, you've had better territory.
You've got teams scrambling defence that always leads to penalties.
You don't need to give penalties away because you've got a 20-point lead.
Yeah, exactly.
So the team near the top should get the most penalties. And let's say the top 4 should get the most penalties and concede the least. And the teams in the bottom 4 should concede more because you're defending more.
You'd think so.
Right. That isn't the way that it's working at the moment. If you want to have a look at the graphic, we've put it on Twitter, or should I say X, on Monday. You might have already seen it. Most of this table looks relatively okay. Hull KR, top of the league. They've received 33 penalties and conceded 25.
I mean, to talk about because I don't want to just talk about every single number. If people have got the thing in front of them, we don't need to speak over every single one. Let's talk about Warrington and Leeds.
Yeah.
Warrington's numbers, to me, make sense. They've got a few more penalties than they've given away.
They've got 7 more penalties than they've given.
They've won more games than they've lost. So I'd say that's about right.
Same with Saints in 4th.
Saints numbers make sense. I mean, there's a lot of both for Saints. There's a lot given away and a lot got for Saints.
Yeah.
Which maybe is how their games have gone. But in terms of the net, that makes sense. Leeds, to say Brad Arthur's complaining about penalty counts, have they not got the highest net score?
Yeah.
The highest positive.
They've received 35 and given away 24.
So
and sit outside of the top 6.
Yeah. So for a team outside the top 6 who've, are they 3-3?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that anyway. So they're not a team that's near the top of the league. They are the most beneficiaries, the biggest beneficiaries of the penalty count in this season.
No.
For Brad Arthur to be complaining about penalty counts then seems a bit off.
Yeah. On the other end of the scale, Castleford, Salford, their scores make sense Castleford are negative 10. They've given away 10 more penalties, and Salford have given 21 away.
Yeah,
with
there's one game between them.
With Salford's situation, it makes sense. Bit of an anomaly, Huddersfield are on -3. They've given away 3 more, but they've actually only received 22 and conceded 25. That's a really low number of penalties for their games.
It's kind of the flip side of Saints. The net number kind of makes sense, but the numbers are both low.
Yeah.
Which maybe again is how the games have gone, I don't know.
Now, this is what I wanted to talk about. This was where our conversation came in. Wigan are the least penalised team in the league.
Yep, most disciplined.
We have given away 21 penalties. The next lowest is 24 and 24. So not saying ridiculously low.
So in 6 games, that's 3.5 a game.
Yes. We have only received 14. We are the least penalised team in the league. The best disciplined.
Yeah.
But in every match that we've played, we have been the worst disciplined in that game. We haven't won a penalty count.
That doesn't make sense. So we're the most disciplined team in the whole year.
Yeah.
But we've been the least disciplined team in every game we've played.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense.
So we lost the penalty count.
So our games are being refereed differently to all the other games then.
Well, let's just go through it. We lost the penalty count to Lee in a very, very low penalty count game.
That was low for both teams, yeah.
I'm okay with that. It was a close game to be expected. We lost the penalty count when we beat Hull FC. What was it? 46-4. We lost the penalty count in Vegas when we won the game 48-24. We lost the penalty count against Huddersfield. We won 44-18. So in 3 games that we've won by more than 24 points, we've lost the penalty count. In the league.
How can a team like Salford, who are on those figures, averaging 8 penalties conceded per game, then only concede 3 against us?
We give away 5 against Salford in a game that we won 54-0. And Salford only give away 3.
It just doesn't make sense.
Alongside this is we've also lost the 6 again count,
which are cracked as well.
In most of these games. The Leeds game, I just want to talk about the Leeds game specifically. So Leeds have, as we said, have conceded 24 penalties. How many should they conceded against us?
Well, I don't really remember any, so maybe 1, 2.
They conceded 1 in the 15th minute.
Oh, Brad Arthur's moaning about penalty counts, is he?
And they give away the same amount of penalties against Warrington in 2 minutes as they give away against us. I'm just trying to check the number here that they give against.
It just doesn't make sense. So these numbers, I mean, there must be a reason. We're not saying this is unfair or anything, because we've probably deserved all the results we've got.
It's not affected the results.
I think the first one probably did.
Yeah.
And the league game, it probably did affect the result. But again, if we're going to let the game flow, whatever. I mean, I made the joke on Twitter that the game's flowing like the River Nile every single game. It must be the most entertaining. We must be the most entertaining league, because our opponents and ourselves never give any penalties away.
Yeah, it just keeps it rolling.
The game must be flowing all the time. Do you think that Wigan are trusted to do that, and that's why there's no penalties in our games?
I'm going to say 2 things. I think there's an element of we're trusted, we can do the right thing, we're not holding down, we're holding for the right length of time, we're dominating tackles, we actually get off tackles when we're not dominating them and allow the game to flow. There's an element of, I think we're the fittest team over a course of a season. Mm-hmm. So we try to keep the game flowing. We don't want to be giving away penalties for holding down. We don't want to be giving penalties away for having an arm trapped in the ruck.
I'd love to see the numbers for Saints when they were in the 4 in a row, because I bet they were treated similarly. I bet they were. I bet they didn't get as many penalties as they
But I also
were.
think there's this part of, well, Wigan have been so entertaining, they've scored loads of points. They must want the game flowing, so we might not penalise.
I can't be that. It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
There must be a reason.
When you then compare it to the 2 top teams in the league at the moment are Wigan and Hull KR. Yeah, I get that Hull FC are second on points, but they're not there. Yeah, they've got to do it for a long period of time. Hull FC have won 6. Hull KR have won 6 from 6 and given away more penalties than us. They've actually received 19 more penalties.
So more than double.
More than double what we have. We've received 14 penalties. So what's that per game? 2 1/3.
Yeah.
It might happen in one game. That's never happened in the history. I will go as far as to say that's never happened in the history of Super League. That conceded 2.5 penalties back to back to back to back. It just doesn't happen.
You know what I find interesting about the Super League table right now?
Go.
Wakefield. They're in a decent position. Wakefield have not played any of the bottom 4.
How?
They haven't played any of the bottom 4.
And the worry for them is going to be is that they're just picking up a couple of injuries.
They're going to play them at the wrong time.
That play them at the wrong time.
Everyone else has played somebody in the bottom 4. I think Hull KR have played 3 teams in the bottom 4.
I can't believe that 3 of the top 6 teams have got negative points difference.
Well, because they've not been putting points on big, and
They've each took a battering.
Maybe.
So Hull FC are -7. Obviously took a 40-point beating off us. Warrington took a big 24 points difference, and a 14-point difference to Wakey in back-to-back
Wakey
weeks.
put some points on later, didn't they?
And Lee are -13.
We just Wakey again put points on them this game.
And so does Hull KR.
Yeah,
Even though they sit in the top 6.
in the last 2 weeks. So it's interesting. There's just the makeup of the league is really in an odd position. I think after Easter, it'll be a bit more settled down. I think, hopefully, anyway, because a lot of big teams playing each other over Easter.
Yeah, it's
as always. It's
crazy, really, when you look at it. Yeah, we'll take a break there. When we come back, we'll go around the grounds.
Right, before we go around the grounds, I've got to butt in here because we've just been messing about on ChatGPT for some reason. Well, you have. Asking who Wigan should sign, and it got us really excited because it actually gave a reasonable answer first, didn't it? It gave a really in-depth answer as to why Harry Newman 2026 was a good shout. So we got super excited because it actually gave good reasoning. So then we thought, let's explore this a bit more. So we asked them for a winger, which it then recommended Joey Manu and Tommy Makinson. So we lost a bit of faith in it then.
To be fair, Joey Manu was only in brackets if still available.
Well, rather, you're not available. Tommy Makinson, yeah, that's not a good shout, really. So then we said maybe give us a prop forward to sign to replace Liam Byrne if he leaves, which it then recommended Matautia.
And Ethan Havard.
Ethan Havard, yeah. Well, we don't need Ethan Havard, but he recommended Matautia. So then we asked, which Matautia do you mean? And it said David Clemmer. So not Matautia. I've never seen ChatGPT apologise before. It says, sorry, I meant David Clemmer. Like it's an actual person. So then it recommended Oliver Partington for some reason. Then it recommended that we sign Sam Walters.
Sam Walters, a young promising prop from Leeds.
So he's gone off the rails here. He's gone off the rails. Baz recommended this, but let's get back to what we should be doing, which is going around the grounds with the rest of Super League from round 6.
Yeah, plenty of games. Started off on Thursday. I was a bit surprised that this was Thursday's game, to be honest.
Hull again, yeah, on Thursday.
Yeah, a bit of a different. It's a tough travel to Hull anywhere from Hull. I still think it should be a local game. But Castleford hosted Hull FC. Herman Essiese, big news that he'd signed before the game. And Hull FC take the 2 points. 24 points to 14.
Yeah, not an awful lot to say about this game, really. Hull FC once again showing their credentials, and Cass showing their struggling.
Yeah, they added 8 points in the last 10 minutes.
Big news for Castleford, though. Big news this week. I forgot to mention it in the news, but they have made a signing, a new media manager. Hopefully someone who can spell. I do think it's funny that they gave it such a big announcement that they'd signed 3 people to the media team. I think it's because they've got so much criticism on this podcast for their spelling. That must be the only reason.
That's the only reason.
The only reason. Because we criticise them for spelling things wrong.
I'm so glad if that's the reason.
I mean, spelling things wrong, everyone can spell things wrong, but your own head coach, you got to get his name right.
Especially after you've done it once.
You get it wrong twice.
Yeah, big win for Hull.
Yeah, a huge
Another
win for
2
Hull
points.
because, again, we've seen teams start well before and then go to the jungle and...
Go to a team that you think you should beat.
Exactly, it's an easy place to
Slip up.
look past it and not get the 2 points. So, yeah, pleased for that. If you're
Big
a Hull
talking
fan.
points from this we should mention, obviously.
Kate
Senior.
Cost.
He has a 2-game ban for a head-high tackle on Cade Cust. He failed his HIA, unfortunately. And Liam Martin didn't get a ban, didn't get a yellow card for a very late
ban
hit
or a
on.
yellow card. But he got some points, but I don't think I think got 1 point maybe for a ridiculous high shot on Dejan Arce, which looked exactly the same. So I think that's one of them where they take into account the impact of the injury. So how Cade Cust failed his head test. So Senior got a more
Do you think it should be
severe
like
punishment.
that?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think you should take in the length of injury.
Well, it's not necessarily the length of injury, it's just the fact that Arce didn't need a head test and Cust failed one. I think that's the only difference, really. It's not the length of the injury, it's the where on the body it was.
That's right.
It's the fact that if Arce had stayed down and gone for a head test and failed it, would Martin have got a big ban? Yeah, probably.
More important for Cass in this game, does Liam Knight get 10 minutes in the bin? If Arce has to go for the HIA.
Probably does, yeah. But then you're losing Arce, so for at least 10 minutes. Tough one. It's a tough one for the officials, that one.
Yeah. Friday, Warrington versus Leeds. The battles of the coaches morning. Yeah, 2 unhappy coaches, but Sam Burge will be a little bit happier. Winning 16 points to 14. A late-ish try, you could say, from Thulis.
Yeah.
Sneak didn't convert, but he took it 16 points to 14. Big talking point again from this is the refs. Jake Connor sending a touchdown to McDonald. Pretty forward that pass, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And then Palacio, yellow card. I think he's picked up a penalty point, but hasn't took a ban.
No. We thought it was a red card, but then actually when you look at it back,
yeah,
it bounces up off the ball.
Yeah, we were watching it. We were only watching it on a phone, to be fair. And live, we went, oh no.
Red. See you later.
And then as soon as they showed the replay, I went, it might just be a penalty, this. I thought, probably going to get a yellow.
Ended up splitting the difference.
Yeah.
Probably harking back to it now, but probably what Shorrock should have got in the semi-final at Leeds all that time ago.
Yeah, looked bad. Replay's
not actually that
not
bad.
that bad. Yellow, kill the game. 2 big points for Warrington this.
The worst was when they didn't get the scrum set from the captain's challenge.
Yeah.
Leeds didn't get a chance to put a scrum play on. No guarantees that you're going to score from it, but you've got a chance to put a scrum play on where you've got one play, all the forwards are tied up in the middle of the pitch.
Well, with this, so I was having a go at Warrington originally for challenging it because it stops the clock immediately.
It gives Leeds a chance to get the pack in position.
And a bit of me thought, you've challenged this. And that gives them time to say, listen, you're going to be in the scrum, you stand there, get ready for the scrum.
Yeah.
So that as soon as he issues that it's inconclusive or not a captain's challenge and a failed captain's challenge, we're already in the scrum then.
But I think if the challenge was successful, then they've won the game.
If the challenge was successful, they win the game.
That's why it's worth challenging.
But to me, I just thought, they might run out of time. It's that close to the end. They might not get the scrum packed. By challenging it so quickly, it stops the game for them. And then, if you Leeds, and I really don't get why they weren't doing this, why were you not already down with your heads in the scrum, waiting?
I don't know if there's a rule against that.
I'm standing there.
Surely there's not.
It can't be a rule about how
It
you
just seems
stand.
daft that they just all stood around. Like, the game ended with just people standing around.
Because someone said that they were told they couldn't pack down because they were missing someone. But Palacio was in the bin. Why not have that conversation while the video ref's looking at it?
I don't know. That was a weird one. I hate seeing games just end with like people standing around. I know it did for our game as well, but at least that wasn't close.
Yeah. I just don't get that. Lee. Now, this is a bad result for Lee. A couple of injuries and they're suffering at the moment.
Doing it tough, aren't they?
They're doing it tough with injuries. But 40 points to 40.
We need a couple of bodies in. But Wakey, fantastic. But Wakey, Mike McMeekin's playing absolutely out of his skin as a prop second row combination, mostly prop.
The minutes is going to be an issue for him.
Minute
I think he's played 70, 80 minutes most
minutes
games.
limit. Yeah, you will have to rein that in, won't it?
Yeah, and to be fair, there's a conversation at Wigan about Junior in December.
Yeah,
he can only play 20 games, being under 22.
Yeah, have to rein that in. But McMeekin, for me, is taking a claim to play for England with how he's played this year.
Yeah. Can I ask you something? You might know this more than I do, because I don't know the answer to this. What happens if you use all your minutes up?
When you get to the grand final?
Well, you get picked for England. And Sean Wayne not pick you?
You can play and then you miss round 1 next season.
Right.
It rolls. You can play it, it's fine, but you have to then take some time off next season. So if you're going to the NRL, you can definitely play it. That's how it works with the grand final. So I assume that's England as well, because England duty, we're not going to hamstring our England national team by saying, oh, actually, Junior December's played too many games, he can't play against Australia.
Yeah. Because you see that happening and then going, oh, well, they're the rules. And it would be stupid. Big win for Wakefield. 2 big interceptions from Johnston. And... Oh, they were both from Johnston, I remember.
Yeah,
right?
I think they were.
It just changed the game.
Hood was absolutely fantastic as well.
Yeah, he was up in the dream team.
Said it might be off the end of this year, Liam Hood, but...
Well, they signed the...
I know, they've signed Smoothie, but if I were Wakey, I'd want to try and keep them both. I know
if you had a 2-punch from that...
Powell said he wants to keep him, but he's probably going to be off, which, when the coach says that, you'd think that he's going to be off, that you think then, don't you? Unless he changes his mind.
There's plenty of clubs in Super League that could do with a Liam Hood.
Liam Hood would be useful for a lot of teams, yeah.
And he can probably play in different positions.
I kind of hope he stays at Wakey, because I want to see that 1-2 punch with Smoothie. But you never know. We'll see what he does.
Yeah. Saturday. Just the one game on Saturday. Catalan, St. Helens, up step. Johnny Lomax, really. Now, awful conditions.
They were awful conditions, yeah.
Not so much rain or whatever, but the wind. Comes down to 2 drop goals from Johnny Lomax. Sam Tompkins. I've got to mention him.
He loves scoring, doesn't he, against Saints?
I know you see the documentary of his knee, and you just don't think he should be playing.
Gross.
You see that and go, there is no way this man should be playing. But when he plays, he looks like his best player on field. And he's past his best now. Let's be fair.
He is, but he's still playing really, really well. He's still playing really well.
Yeah. Started with a brace from St. Helens. They were
very quick.
After 10 minutes.
Very quick tries. Both, all the tries were done in the first half, I think, weren't they? So it was very quick. Saints' points were done until drop goals after 10 minutes. From 10 minutes to 75 or so, they never scored a point. So that shows where their attack still is. But their defence was excellent in this game. I thought that the Catalans' props, particularly Pangai and Busquets, were making a bit of a nuisance of themselves with the offloads. Yeah. There was almost a try for Whitehead. It was a fantastic try where Pangai's arm had just hit the floor before he offloaded it. Similar to the Minchella offload the previous week, which we thought the tackle was held. This one, the tackle definitely wasn't held, but his arm had just hit the floor, so it's technicalities, that, isn't it? But I think we've always struggled against props like that as well, haven't we? Now, that worries me for when we play Catalan. If Pangai gets on a roll with his offloading, and they're tough to defend against if you're a solid defensive team that likes to play proper. Yeah, and get into arm wrestles. Yeah, for want of a better word, yeah. Now, over to Sunday. There was another game in on Sunday. Huddersfield versus Hull KR. We got to see the best kick in action. Yeah, he had plenty of practice, didn't he? He had plenty of goals at showing off his good kicking action out of Morg. Yep. How many conversions is that? 7 conversions? He's not necessarily the best kicker, but he's the best. He's the best looking kicker. He's got the best looking kick. And he's probably the best looking. Oh no, Adam Kieran's good looking as well. He's got a good looking kick in action. Yeah. But he takes 4 years to line it up. Morgs is just smooth. Most people could do the tax return in the time that Kieran takes the kick. Yeah. We talked about Flanagan's try, really, really good. The player to mention in this game is Mikey Lewis. Yep. Mikey was fantastic in this. Three tries, 3 try assists, plenty of meters, really, really good. Yeah.
The rest of the try spread out. Gildart, Morg.
Gildart's on fire as well, isn't he?
Yeah, playing up his best rugby.
Really well.
Well, the conversation with Gilly's always been that he's never got enough games together.
Yeah,
when you look at his Wigan time, you'd probably expect him to be like 150 games, and he's probably near 90. Missed 10 games here, 10 games there. Actually, now he's getting a good run of games.
He was great against Lee last week. He was great in this game again.
Seeing the best of him, really.
Yeah.
Mikey playing really, really well. Probably the form player in the comp.
Yeah, I'd say so.
He's got to do it in the big stage now.
Yeah, he's got the perfect opportunity with Hull away, Wigan at home, Hull away. If he plays well in those 3 games, look out. Because that will give him serious credentials. If he doesn't kick on, then you've got the question to ask, haven't you?
Yeah.
Big games.
Yeah.
He's got to do it in a big game. And if he does, fair play to him. But that's what's currently stopping him from playing for England for me, and his defence.
His defence isn't good enough, in my opinion.
But only because, he's a half-back and his defence isn't going to be good enough. It's only because Williams is such a good defender.
Smith is such a good defender. You look at our French defence.
Yeah, but he's not going to be in instead of Smith, is he? He's going to be for Williams. No. He's going to play 6 for England.
Yeah, well, we might as well have the England conversation here quickly. Harry Smith has to play.
Well,
Harry Smith's in a conversation with players like Mark Sneyd.
If Harry Smith's injured, I wouldn't go with Williams and Lewis.
No.
I'd pick Sneyd.
I would.
Or I'd pick Lewis Dodd if he gets playing.
Yeah. Because of the ability to manage a game.
Long kicking, managing in general play.
Neither of Mikey Lewis or George Williams can kick you from your own half.
No, they're both X Factor.
And you've already seen that he can do it against the best team, Harry Smith. He's done it against Penrith.
So's Dodd.
Yeah.
I mean, funny.
So the conversation is Williams or Lewis. And
I'm leaning towards Williams because he's captain and because he's been there, done that before.
And he's done it in the NRL.
And he's a good defender.
And he's won grand finals. And he's...
The Aussies won't want us to play Williams. They'll want us to get in our own head and drop Williams. That's what they'll want us to do.
Yes.
If we stick to our guns and say Williams is our captain, Williams is one of our best players, that's what they don't want.
Yeah.
I'd say.
They like doing that, the Aussies. They like telling us who we should pick.
Getting in our head.
I don't think Wayne will accept that. I don't think Wayne...
I hope he doesn't.
Mikey Lewis has to be in the squad, and I would not be against him being on the bench if you needed something. But against the Aussies, you need a big pack. And you need to defend well. And that's my one concern. But yeah, he's playing really, really well. If he can step up in the big moments, then he might push in.
Yeah, if he outplays Williams for the rest of this year, then yeah, he might get it. Yeah.
Right. Good episode.
Yep, that wraps it up.
Obviously no game for Wigan next week with the Challenge Cup break. But we will...
Shall we do something?
Yeah, we'll come on and we'll probably talk about the Ashes and the England selection.
Let's do something,
and talk about the Challenge Cup because it's a brilliant time to talk about rugby.
I'm closing in on that 100th episode. I know we've got a couple of comments already, but let us know if there's something you think we should do for that special.
Definitely. Thank you for listening, Matty. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
It's been a fun episode and we'll see you next week.
See you soon.